Listen, when it comes down to different kinds of tires, there's a billion out there that you're probably thinking of, but none quite as convoluted as this tire name, the Falken Azenis RT615K Plus, a tire name that for some reason seems to be a DLC for Elden Ring with how many words and numbers it has. Now let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, over here at Martini Works, we like to answer very common questions like why in the hell would you buy this tire? Number two, how does it stack up against the competition like tires like the General GMAX RS? And number three, can this tire do things outside of just grip driving? Well, I'm glad you are here because we're gonna do exactly that on one of the most iconic tracks up here in Wisconsin, US Air. The Falken Azenis RT615K Plus, God, that is a mouthful, is a 200 treadwear tire. And there's a few things you need to know about it if you're even planning to buy them. The RT615K Plus was started out as a tire for autocross, time attack, track day warriors that want street usability. It's a big way of saying that they wanted a tire that the SCCA and NASA events would love. And they did. They released the original RT615K back in 2016. Now this one with the Plus gives you more consistent performance across heat cycles and slightly better wet grip. The biggest difference between the old tire and the new is that you get a high tension carcass for responsiveness, a solid center rib for increased stability and feedback under load, and some massive shoulder blocks for maximum lateral grip during cornering. Now, because this is only a 200 treadwear tire, it is consistent with SCCA regulations. The tire life ranges anywhere between 10 to 20,000 miles, depending on camber settings, rotation, and driving behavior, and if you manage to keep it all on the track at one time. Now, these primary use cases are for where we are today, US Air. We're talking about track days ideal for HPDE, time attack, autocross, and it's a properly good tire to drive home on. A lot of people will always tell you that it has R compound-like dry grip without sacrificing the fact that it's a DOT legal tire. They're gonna tell you that it has really great dry grip, even though in the wet, it kind of stinks. The shoulder design resists chunking during repeated high G cornering, and because it heat cycles super well, it means it can take an absolute thrashing. But we're comparing this to tires like the Yokohama A052, the Bridgestone RE71RS, the Hankook RS4, the General GMAX RS, and for the rich people in the room, the Nitto NT01. Now, with all good things, it doesn't come with a warranty, just standard materials and workmanship warranties through Falken authorized dealers like martiniworks.com. You do get a good community perception when you pick up a set of these tires too. Most people will say it's some of the best 200 treadwear tires you can buy for the money. They talk about how the tire doesn't fall off like the RE71s used to, and the wet grip is better than expected, but again, not really that great. If you're trying to understand the price point of this tire, you're gonna be looking anywhere between $140 and $230 per tire. They have sizes as low as 205/50 R15s for our Mazda Miata groups out there, all the way up to 275/35 R18s, which would be something that you'd find in a wide body Honda S2000 for a grid life street mod class. And with the sizes being about as expansive as you could imagine, it's making this a very popular tire for pretty much anyone to pick up. Now, in a perfect world, we'd be spending our time at Road America in a Porsche GT3 RS, drinking our lattes and talking about how the world just isn't what it used to be. But we're not. We're at US Air, which, by the way, to be clear, this is one of the most abrasive tracks I would argue I've ever been on. This here was pretty much laid for go-karting, and what you get is these perforations and this super aggressive asphalt. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, because when you come out to US Air, especially for drifting, these tires, they don't last days, they don't last hours, they last minutes. This is one of the most brutal asphalts I've ever been a part of, which means when we're testing the RT615K Plus today, we're not just testing if it can stay grippy, we're not just testing if it's gonna grease up, and we're not just testing how long it's gonna last, we're trying to see if it can last against some of the most brutal elements we could find up here in Wisconsin. Let's give it a try. how did they do after a couple laps on the track? I gotta say, for one, that actual sidewall is insane. They say that that's one of the best parts about this tire is how reinforced this sidewall is. And as we were bouncing off of different little curbs over here, I could actually feel that this was doing exactly what it was intended to do. Now, for a 200 treadwear tire, it was properly grippy as well. We don't have a ton of horsepower in this car, but what we do have, especially at US Air, is momentum and altitude change, which means we're constantly shifting weight around in this car, especially on the advanced course layout, to see if we can really upset the tires. If you remember, we did the General GMAX RS test just a few weeks ago at Road America, and I kind of talked about how it seemed like the tires didn't catch you as much. With the RT615K Plus, that treadwear is constantly in action. That 200 treadwear is so grippy, which actually makes it really nice. I've found it catching me every once in a while when I started doing something a little bit silly. Now, you could still upset the car, you could still oversteer it, but kind of the best things about this thing was how grippy it was, how the sidewall really felt nice and firm, and I didn't lose confidence in the tires at any point driving up and down this hilly thing we call advanced. Now, two things I wasn't a massive fan of. Honestly, I think the biggest thing I always have an issue with is how blocky this tire actually is. It means that we're dealing with a little bit of clearance issues, which may not seem like a big deal for people that are trying to just track their car, but for folks that are buying this that are also trying to take it out on the street, maybe they have it on a show car, maybe they have it on something that they're taking to Gatlinburg or something like that, this super blocky sidewall can actually cause a little bit of a fitment issue because this thing does not give. The second thing is, depending on how you see it, it is also a very quiet tire, which can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. A lot of times people use tire noise to understand if a tire is slipping or not slipping, and you don't really hear that much with the RT615K Plus. Now, we're gonna do the thing so that you don't have to. Can this tire do stuff it's not intended to? We're at US Air. We've got a car that's rear-wheel drive, manual transmission. Let's see if we can make them slide. Now, does it make a good drift car or drift tire? Honestly, no, not quite, because mostly you have so much grip on these tires. We even aired up the rears to 50. Now, could we slide them out? Absolutely. As somebody in the comments that is hell-bent on telling you that you need 140 horsepower to start drifting so that you can learn techniques for 6 years before you actually get a 200 horsepower car to tell you that you could in fact drift these, I'm sure they would too. But you're not those people. You don't need to make life difficult. You can go with something that's 1, not as expensive, 2, not as grippy, and 3, is actually intended maybe more for a drift tire like a Kenda KR20A, or something like the Ironman iMove 3G AS. Gosh darn DLC names for tires. I will say though, what I do like about this is that if you were to apply these tires into a high horsepower application, you get a ton of front bite on this tread. It's something that was actually really nice to experience as we were trying to slide around a little bit, but I will say in terms on if it should be a drift tire or not, the answer is probably not. So we started this video by asking, is it actually a good tire? And the answer is yeah, it is a really great tire. Great for track. Now, is it good for drift? Not quite. It's just a little bit too grippy for low horsepower cars, but I can say that it's a lot of fun for grip. Now, how does it compare to the competitors? That sidewall is super stiff, which means it's very predictable, and the tread design is absolutely awesome. Why you'd buy this though is what we're gonna do when we're done with this car, which is drive it home. The Falken Azenis RT615K Plus makes a terrific tire that you can take to the track, have really good consistency because it's a 200 treadwear tire, and actually drive home. And if you run into some rain on the way there, you're not going to have that much of an issue. That's what makes this tire so great. Now, is it as competitive as some of the other tires out there? No. Is it as cheap as the GMAX RS? No. But it's an entire level up almost across the board in terms of how you handle doing and being almost a casual race car driver that actually only has one car and ends up spending their time taking their car to work Monday through Friday. So if you're looking for Falken Azenis RT615K pluses, be sure to get your wheels and tires over at martiniworks.com so you can mod your car with your friends. And of course, thank you so much for watching.